Hello and welcome to question number 46 of Daily Dose Gmat. So today's question is a CR question and that to a bold statement 1. Guys, please note that these bold statement questions can be very difficult at times, but if you have the correct approach to tackle them, you will never struggle with them. And the correct approach is, first thing is to identify the premise and the conclusion. Secondly, try to identify the relationship between the bold statements, that whether they are on the same side or whether they are on the opposite side. The one is trying to prove or the other one is trying to prove another, or they are going against each other. Now let's have a look at this question. So historian says, in the Drindian Empire, censuses were conducted annually to determine the population of each village. Village census records for the last half of the 1600s are remarkably complete. So these two lines are treated as something as fact, so most probably will act as background data or provide context to our argument. This very completeness makes one point stand out. In 5 different areas, villages overwhelmingly reported significant population declines. Tellingly, each of those 5 years immediately followed an increase in certain Drindian tax. The census reported the decline in population and hence the increase in Drindian tax. This tax, which was assessed on villages, was computed by the central government using the annual census figures. Obviously, whenever the tax went up, villages had an especially powerful economic incentive to minimize the number of people they record. So whenever the tax went up, they deliberately make their count low to show the population decline, which actually helps them in such conditions. Therefore, it is reasonable to think that the reported declines did not happen. So this is the author's conclusion. Even there is the trigger word therefore. So the author wants us to believe that they are actually deliberately saying that their population has declined, although it has not declined. Why? Because that helps them in certain increased tax situations. So when I see the two bold statements, I go ahead and realize the relationships. The last one is definitely the conclusion or the position of the author. Over here, from this very competitiveness to everything over here acts as the premise. It actually helps us to understand what's happening. And the first bold statement actually just help us to provide the context of the argument on which the premise has been built. So let's go ahead and see the option choices. The first supplies a context for the historian's argument. Very perfect. I'll keep this one for the first statement only. I'm not going to the second statement first of all. The first presents evidence to support the position that historian seeks to establish. Not exactly, because the first one is not the premise, it's just the background data. So I can cut it down, but still if you want to keep it, you can keep for now, but later on it will be cut down on the basis of the second, but not a favorable option choice in front of it. The first provides a context for certain evidence that supports the position that the historian seeks to establish. Again, a good option. I'll keep this one also on the basis of first statement, because the first actually provides the context for a certain evidence or the historian's argument. The first is a position for which the historian argues. No, the historian never argues whether the census report is complete or not. This is given as fact that it is definitely complete. The first one is assumption. No, it's not an assumption. It's a fact that is given to us that the census records have been completed remarkably. Option D, E are gone, and B of course is there but still gone. Better option choice we are left with is A and C. Now when we see the second one, which we know actually is the conclusion or the position of the author. The second is that position in option C. Very good option. I'll keep it for long now. Option A. The second acknowledges a consideration that has been used to argue against the position of the historian seeks to establish. No, the second one actually is the historian's position. It is not arguing against the historian's position. I can cut down option A. Becomes very bad after the second statement. What does option B say? The second acknowledges a consideration that has been used to argue against that position. No, again the second one is in the favor of the same position. B is also gone. So I'm only left with option C, which is definitely is the correct answer. You can keep it. So option C is the perfect one. So guys, the most important thing in the bold statement, if you're able to identify the conclusion, very good. Because over here, you know this was the conclusion, so you can say that only option C was having that the second is that position. The rest were all saying that it is going against the author's consideration. That's all wrong. So guys, Identify the author's conclusion and then the relationship between the two bold statements, and you will never be wrong in bold statement CR. Hope you got the concept. Hope you're enjoying the series. Stay tuned for more such questions and do subscribe our channel if you haven't. Log on to Facebook and like our page Mission MBA. Thank you for being with us and enjoying the series. Have a good day, take care, and bye-bye. Mission MBA, where learning is fun and absolutely affordable.